Hi, this is Joe Brown from Paddle Now. We're showing how to use flies. Right here we've got flies. These are trout flies that we use to catch bluegill. So these are really, really good, and it's a cheap way because you spend $1 for this fly, and this fly could catch you thousands of bait here. So what you do is you're going to take this bluegill and you put it on a spinning rod.
Take this bluegill.
Take this bluegill. Yeah, got me. You're going to take this fly here, catch a bluegill. You're going to thread them up, tie it like normal. People said, can you use flies on a spinning rod? Absolutely. A lot of people that fish for trout, especially big rainbow trout, cutthroat, or even speckled trout, if you want to use, down south on saltwater, you can use a spinning reel. You're going to put a clear bobber or clear cork on here, probably about 3 to 4 feet in front of the fly, and that way you can cast it a casting cork. But what we're doing is we're sight fishing for bluegill like around the dock. So we're going to take this. We're going to take this fly on a spinning reel. There you go, like that. You're going to pull the line out. Even with the end of the rod. You're going to let it out so you got right about here. That way when you go to get it, watch. You're just going to let it flip out there. Bluegill's going to hit it, you really want to put them in the bucket. The reason I'm showing you this is something I use for flatheads is bluegills. So a live bluegill, we got a small Fram Polo bait box with a little aerator on it. We get about 6 or 7 live baits, and we're only going to put out, if it's me and my boys, my oldest boys, we'll put out 6 rods, 2 rods per person, but 4 of them will have live bait on it. So you don't want to cram your bait well with 20 live baits for fishing all night. You're not going to fish with a whole bunch of live baits, and the chances of you hooking a flathead are not that good anyway. So you want to use flat, you want to use a cut bait and live bait. If you use cut bait, you got a better chance of getting blue cats, channels, big channels. You got mud cats, you got bull cat, but you can get all different types of catfish off cut bait. The size I use is the head though. So I'll take a shad that's about this big and I'll cut them in half, and I'll use that whole head part. You want to go through the nostril, out through the top membrane, hard part of the head. And by doing that, it's going to stay on the hook better, and you're not going to get the crayfish or crawdads or even the bluegills aren't going to be able to eat your bait off the hook as easy. If you're fishing a live bait, if you're drifting it, the same thing. You want to open up the bluegill's mouth, come out the nose ring. But if you're still fishing, you want to hook them in the back. Here's the fin. You want to hook them right behind that. Here's the tail here. You want to hook them right there for live bait. That's for still fishing. You anchor off, you throw your bait out. You don't want to hook them in the nose while you're still fishing because they're going to swim better. They're going to wrap your weight, your line, and all that's going to be one big tangled mess. So if you reel a catfish in, they could be wrapped up in the line. So then again, if you're still fishing, hook it behind the top fin of that bluegill. The type of setup that we use. Alright. This is a big circle hook. I use circle hooks for all my big catfish. If you want to see my hand here, let's show you the size. Look how big that is. So you want to put a big bait on here. You can use small carp up to a ½ pound or a pound. But again, you want to hook them behind the fin. Get a lot of that meat in there so this hook ain't coming off. When you first go through the scale, this is going to grab one of the scales. You want to pull that scale off. As soon as you hook your fish, make sure you take the scale off. That way that barb is open when you let it out. What I do is when I drop my bait, I don't cast giant 1 pound baits. I'll drive the boat around and I'll look and I'll see the structure on the bottom. And then as I'm driving it real slow and idle, I'll have my son drop the bait straight down, right on top of that fish. And then he'll let the line out as we get about 20 yards away from the spot. We use about a 3-ounce pyramid weight or a 4-ounce flat weight. We like setting up with flat weights because we can drift with those too. If you get a flat weight, when you're drifting, it's going to bounce off the bottom, but it's also 3 or 4 ounces is heavy enough to hold a pretty big live bait down. So I use this bait bag right here, which got my stop bobbers for my big corks. So if we're fishing live bait around rocks or under tree lines for big flatheads in real shallow water, we don't care if the bait swims to the bottom in 2 feet of water. We're still going to have a 3-foot line to the leader. We use 80-pound mono. You can tell how thick this is, but 80-pound clear monofilament for a leader, and we want it 3 feet long from the cork. Even if you're in a foot of water, that way that bait can swim around. That way when you see that big bobber, you're gonna see the flathead take off, that bobber is gonna take off. And when it does, you're gonna know. But this bag is set up for that. If you can see, I got all these empty pouches. So before we go flathead fishing, we're gonna make up, a whole bunch of leaders, because when you go, you can lose leaders left and right, especially fishing heavy brush. And that's where the big ones are gonna be. If you go down to the river, you'll see like a beaver dam or a tree that's fallen into the water, and if the current, wherever the current's going under it, you want to fish you want to fish that side, because the flathead. So if the current's going this way, and this here is the beaver dam, he's going to be here. So you want your bait to drift alongside, and you don't know which way your bait's drifting. That's why you got the cork. So you're going to put weight. Your leader's 3 feet long. You're going to put a weight a foot up. So you're going to take 2 snap weights, put them right here. Or you can tie another swivel wherever you want to do, depending on the current, how fast it's going. You can actually use up to a 1 ounce egg weight, which is a lot, but it's going to pull that bait down and have him drift closer to the bottom where that flathead's going to be ready to ambush it. And when you hook the fish, you need to let your boat drift back out in the current, and that will help you pull that fish out away from that beaver dam, because his first instinct is going to go back in that hole. So if you have any questions about how to catch bait without a cast net, the reason I'm showing this video is to teach people how to catch bait to fish for big flatheads without a cast net. Me and my family, I throw an 8-foot to a 16-foot cast net, which is really huge, 32 feet in radius down to 16 foot in radius. So we throw one time, we get 30 baits on most casts. Sometimes we can get 10, but that's enough baits to fish all night. You don't want to be greedy, because if you got a live well and you fill it full of live bait and you get 30 or 40 of them in there, all you're going to do is kill them, because the more bait you have in the live well, it's only designed to keep so many alive. So if you're fishing with live bait, remember, 10 to 12 is about right for a night. You want to keep your bait live. If you get a hit, change it out, put another one on there. But that should last you a long time, especially if you're only fishing 3 rods live bait and 3 with cut bait. My name is Joe Brown from Paddle Out. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Have any questions, you can click the link or leave them below. Thank you. Have a great day.